Here we are, right on the cusp of League start for Path of Exile 3.22 Trial of the Ancestors, and seeing as how I'm clearly not getting in anytime soon, even when the servers go live, figured I'd put together a quick video on what I'm going to be doing once they do. I was pretty high up in line and unfortunately had a disconnect on my PC, which booted me out and sent me back more than twice as far as I was. Oh well. What are we actually going to be doing? I'm going to be league starting a Hexblast Mine Occultist, which is going to level with some combination of Stormblast and Icicle Mine before switching over about halfway through the campaign to Hexblast Mines. Around level 60 to 62, I will be in Act 10. I will get my final Labyrinth and the skill point from Villatenia, and then I'm going to go and do Heist until about level 67 or so. There's no more infinite Heist, so you can't just keep leveling up and down. But Heist is still a valuable thing to do to build up currency, to build up levels, and just to make sure that by the time you kill Kitava and get that 30 resist penalty, you're not going to be hard up for resistances. You're going to be good to go. You've got your basic gear, should be enough to avoid a 6-link, that kind of a thing. I have to keep an eye on the prices of the various things that I'm going to need. Profane Proxy is going to be a big upgrade for my build. Certainly Sandstorm Visage, but nobody's going to have that in the opening 10 or 12 hours. That is a beat level 4 of Sanctum and get lucky kind of a drop. So I don't expect to even be able to look at that until day 2, but I'll probably have a trade alert set up for it. It'll be entertaining to see when the first ones start coming up, if nothing else. What else I've got to keep an eye out for? Honestly, Profane Proxy is like the really big one. Yeah, probably some other stuff that I'm forgetting, but I'll have to put together a trade search for that. So around 67, 68, go kill Kitava. I guess if at that point I am I'm close to being able to get something that I need to buy, I might keep grinding. That's possible. Anathema Ring, doubtful that I'd be able to afford that early. Void Battery, doubtful I'd be able to afford that early. If so, again, if they're an item like Profane Proxy that maybe I'm 20% of the way there, or I have only 20% left. I'm 80% of the way to being able to afford one of those. Maybe I keep grinding for a little bit longer, so I can get. These are some of the more important things that my build is going to have. But if not, go kill Kitava, get into maps. Now, I toyed with the idea of hopping into blighted maps, and I think that might be what I would do if I really wanted to start grinding even more currency. For Heist, I will probably be doing the identified chaos recipe, so I will pick things up, I will probably identify them, put them in a dump tab, see if any will sell on their merits, because it's going to be super, super early in the league. There are going to be people who are looking for movement speed boots with a few resists, people who are looking for like a ring with a few resists and some life, things like that. So I think, in my opinion, for the first 12 to maybe 24 hours, identifying things may be worth it rather than doing the 2 chaos unidentified chaos recipe. So you let things sit in your stash, and if they don't sell in 4 hours or whatever, you vendor them for a chaos. So that's going to be the point of Heist. If I really need to grind out some more currency, like hey, maybe a bunch of Sandstorm Visages are going up, but they're like 100 chaos. What I might do is get to maps and switch over briefly to like level 1 to 3 blighted maps and do the unidentified chaos recipe, collect some oils, that kind of a thing, just generic drops. If not, if there's nothing that's particularly in reach, then it's time to just grind the Atlas, do the usual old ladder my way up, get as high as I can. This is an Atlas tree that I've kind of loosely sketched out that's got 84 points in it, so it's not going to be first day kind of a thing, but within the first 2 or 3 days, this shouldn't be a problem. So the very first things that I'm going to do are come up here and start accumulating Jun encounters and Jun missions. This is important because I'm going to want to unveil stuff as fast as possible, unlock my crafting options, get into the Mastermind. is a great early farming strategy. She can drop Devouring Diadem, Cinder Swallow Urn, Cane of Kulamak, so valuable to be doing that in the first few days. I'm also going to be taking, as soon as possible, Atlas Scouting Reports and Kirak missions. Again, these are things that are valuable in like the first, depends on how much you grind, but the first few days at least, and maybe first week of the Atlas. So we're not going to keep these forever. We're going to spec out of them eventually. But once we've got points into these, we're also going to make sure that we've got Shaping the Skies and Shaping the Mountains. They've taken away seas and valleys and replaced them with just Shaping the World. This is higher up. It's harder to get to. I don't know if I'm going to aim straight for this right away. I think it's more likely that I will put my points into Expedition, into Syndicate. Again, gonna work on that Jun, and then I'll have to decide, do I want to shoot up here to get the Expedition nodes and Shaping the World, which I think is what I'm going to do, or do I want to start blocking things early? And I don't think I want to start blocking things early. I'm going to take some of that content as it comes to me early on. And this is just the most basic. So farm Expedition, run my own logbooks as they drop. Probably don't even discriminate which logbooks I run. At this point, even Gwenin isn't the worst thing in the world, and Rog is definitely going to be good. Needless to say, Danig and Tujin are my usual bros. That's a no-brainer. And from there, well, we don't know. At that point, I'll probably be at least 5 days into the league, and it's time to figure out what is selling good. I've got a full-time job, so I'm not going to be super invested into anything. But speaking of investments, one thing I'll likely do with some of those profits, assuming that I don't need to splurge to get a Sandstorm Visage or anything like that, I want to start investing into Mirror Shard cards. I'm not going to be able to invest into Apothecaries at that point, but I think Mirror Shard cards, maybe some Divine Orb, Divination cards, that kind of a thing. Things that we know for a fact will appreciate in value over time, that they gain money just by sitting there, because, full-time job, they are going to be just sitting there a lot of the time. So that'll be, again, in my first few days, 3 to 5 days, start to put whatever spare currency I can get into investments. And then, we're just going to see what is profitable at that point. I always love Expedition. I always love boss rushing and altar farming. I always love Blight. There's a lot of stuff that we can get into here. A Harvest is okay. As far as how I feel about it, like how the content just feels to me. I liked it better when the Harvest rewards were a little bit better, but it's clearly good profit. It may not be good profit right away because the crazy crafters aren't doing anything with it yet. The Vivid Vulture people aren't spending oodles and oodles of crafting currency. So Harvest may not be the way to go early on, but definitely altars, definitely map boss related stuff. So these are no-brainers. Chance to drop Conqueror map. Chance to drop Elder Shaper map. Chance to drop Synthesis map. Those are easy picks. And as long as my build is feeling tanky enough to handle it, take the Top Hat, which makes the maps much harder, but also makes the quantity much higher. There's versions of this strategy where I go Essence, for sure. Essence is on the map device, and that means that it is always tempting. I will see. There is a universe in which I could switch up my strategy and go for Essence right away, instead of shooting for Expedition. I want to shoot for Expedition, but I'll tell you, if I'm able to nuke down Essences really fast, it's gonna be tempting to do that. Everybody needs Essences all league long. It's never a bad idea. So again, this is the basic Atlas tree, and we're gonna have to branch out from here. Things that I can tell you I'm avoiding are gonna be, I'm not likely to do Abyss. I'm not likely to do Delirium. Maybe later when we get to the Delirium Keystone. This is more my cup of tea. I know some people are like, why would you ever run this? I really only care about Delirium for the quant bonus. I know that people run it for the Delirium Orbs. This might get me to run Delirium, but mostly I won't. I won't be running, no Abyss. Alva, maybe eventually, not for a while. Build up a bunch of missions, use her later in like a quant strategy, or use her when the temples are worth a little bit more, but at first, not so much. Metamorph, probably not so much. Legion, I don't think my build is going to be amazing at Legion. We'll see. It's got good AoE, but it doesn't have good proliferation, so you need to be able to get around fast if you want to clear Legion. So I don't think I'm too likely to do that, and I'm definitely not doing Breach unless they have stealth buffed the drop rates on that. So basically what that leaves us with is some combination of Expedition, Harvest, Beast, Blight, and then on the side, of course, I always like to have side strategies to go to so I don't get burned out on mapping. I like to have outside the Atlas strategies. Delve is a good one, especially, again, if my build is feeling tanky, Delve is the way to go. Grand Heist blueprints and Heist contracts are great. Especially early on, the unusual gems blueprints. Everybody wants to get those unusual gems. Everybody wants their alt quality gems the first week. They're trying to get their build up and online. Some builds even require alt quality gems. You've got builds like Ward Loop that if you want it to run at its peak capacity, you need alt quality gems. So the blueprints are always a great way to go. But yeah, if I were to guess, I think my most likely transition, probably Blight plus bosses, so only get into the map for Blight, bosses, and a master mission. And then on the side, be doing logbooks and potentially Delve. That strikes me as the most likely, but we'll see. A lot of it's going to depend on the market, if anything's looking crazy. Oh, obviously, I should mention, I'm going to be doing the league mechanic. The league mechanic, I have a pretty good sense of when the league mechanic is and is not going to be profitable. I've got a good feeling about this one. We've had some dicey ones lately on rewards. Mirror of Kalandra, or Lake of Kalandra rather, was, considering that it was named after the most desirable loot chase in the game, was pretty gnarly on the loot. We couldn't really have predicted that, other than the fact that the dedicated rewards for it were like, eh. The dedicated rewards for Trial of the Ancestors, the ones that you're gonna get only through there and that you're gonna get several of, those are good. The tattoos are gonna be very desirable. People are gonna want to build around the tattoos. They're gonna want to build around, or they're going to craft around Hinokora's Lock, which I'm sure is going to be very rare, but if you're not in the Trial of the Ancestors, you're not doing it. So let me add a caveat there that what I'm likely to do is Blight, map bosses, and the Trial of the Ancestors. I'm going to pick up coins, and since you get into there with silver coins, it's nice because you can kind of build them up and then run them all at once, if that's what you're in the mood to do. This was the complaint people had during Sanctum League that's kind of been alleviated now that Sanctum's been brought back as an itemized thing. But during Sanctum League, it just felt very clunky to have to go into a map, do a little bit of Sanctum, and then go to the next map and do a little bit of Sanctum, and then go to the next map. It just felt, let me do one or the other for a little while. And that you can do with Trial of the Ancestors. So that's definitely going to be one of my outside Atlas strategies, and if the mechanic is entertaining enough, and it looks like it might just be one of those things that I really lean into and do a lot of. Eventually, I'm going to want to put together a build that can do Wave 30 Simulacrum. That's like kind of a soft goal of mine every league cycle. I want to make a build that can do Wave 30 and feel good about it, but that's down the line. This is just what I'm going to be doing in the first week, so I think that's everything. I'm going to go see if the line is ready to go yet. So appreciate you tuning in. Have a good league start. Take it easy.